The one that shows all the different lines, the one you just had on? Yeah, that'll be this one.
All right.
Thanks, Curtis. Yeah, good. Okay, so this shows, that's that same productivity line. This is average compensation, average median compensation, and again, we see this. But what's interesting is this breaks it down. Well, one of the things that it shows is the difference between average and median. And I showed this to my class, and it gave me a chance to explain to the class the difference between average and median. So I picked 4 students. I say, you got $2, you got $2, you got $3, you got $3. I got $1,000. And then we looked at what the average of that is and what the median of that is. And you can see how inequality makes a big difference between average and median, which is what we have here. So even among the rest of us, there's a few people that are, we all know this, but the pictures are good, right? But what's also interesting, this breaks it down between male and female. Now this is growth. This is how much more we're getting than we used to. Male is dipping, and flatlining. Female's getting better. We are addressing the inequalities within the poorest 80% or 90%. We're tinkering with that, and we're tinkering even a little bit with it in the 1%, the 10%. We're addressing the balances between, the gender, racial, other kinds of imbalances within that, so that what we're going to be left with is only this inequality, which we will all accept as just. Following a purge of that's probably enough. Following a purge of traditionally liberal, which is to say Keynesian, perspectives from the IMF and the World Bank, Harvey says, those banks became centers for the propagation and enforcement of free market fundamentalism and neoliberal orthodoxy. As you know, they lend money to developing countries, and since the neoliberal true believers have taken over, they impose what they call austerity measures, which really allows a free flow of capital, the exploitation of labor. Lenders began to insist that borrowing governments, I said it here, meaning create policies that privilege corporate profits over human needs. Meanwhile, the rules of the game were being tinkered with to shift power from production to finance, as well as from shareholders to CEOs, as management and ownership, previously separate functions, merged due to the growing practice of offering stock options as compensation. That was an interesting part of it to me. You used to have stockholders and managers who kind of worked for the stockholders, but now the managers are the stockholders, and it causes them to develop policies that create quick profit at the expense of long-term sustainability. Harvey says, quote, "Small wonder that the net worth of the 358 richest people in 1996 was equal to the combined income of the poorest 45% of the world's population, 2.3 billion people. We're still, the world's 200 richest people more than doubled their net worth in the 4 years to 1998 to more than $1 trillion. The assets of the top 3 billionaires were by then more than the combined GNP of all least developed countries and their 600 million people." Yeah.
Okay, well that's very interesting.
I'm reading a paper. We're going to have a discussion part later.
I just had one question, which is that if you believe in pedagogy of the oppressed, the key is being able to name an oppressor that you can target.
Yeah. Can I finish reading the paper? And I think that we can have a really interesting strategic conversation about it afterwards. I mean, I know that Claire is going to be bringing this sort of more to the ground for everybody too. But the numbers that I just cited are from 1996, and we all know it's gotten much worse than that since then. Just since 2008, those lines are going up ever more steeply. Or use the top ones. The policies being pushed to accomplish this massive, rapid, upward distribution of wealth favored globalization, and according to Harvey, the shorter the term of market contracts, the better. This latter preference parallels Jean-Francois Lyotard's famous description of the postmodern condition as one where the temporary contract supplants permanent institutions in the professional, emotional, sexual, cultural, family, and international domains, as well as in political affairs. Contingency isn't just for academic workers, and it's the wave of the future as neoliberal thought and institutional practices remove any of the social protections that actually allow individuals to thrive. People need more than jobs, which neoliberalism doesn't even deliver as it promises. We need a system that serves human needs instead of one that subordinates human needs to a relentless, profit-driven machine focused on short-term gains for small numbers of people. In a 2011 PMLA editorial, Walter Ben Michaels warns against what he calls, quoting Adolf Reed, the wrong-headedness of the human capital argument. He means that promoting higher education as a way to get a job is inimical to the goals of equality and better lives for everyone. Economic inequality, he says, is the business we're in. He points out that college only works as a path to a high-paying job when most people are excluded from college in the first place. It becomes, and he argues, a mechanism for facilitating and validating inequality. He points out that only about 20% of jobs expected to exist in 2020 will require a BA, and that the two fastest growing job categories are personal care aides and home health aides. He says, in a world where most jobs don't require a college education, the more plausible path to equality is not another degree, but a union card. Neoliberalism isn't just a set of administrative, political, and economic strategies designed to concentrate wealth in the hands of the super wealthy, for instance, by attacking unions, slashing taxes, undermining welfare, or privatizing public companies. Neoliberalism has, Harvey says, become incorporated into the common sense way many of us interpret, live in, and understand the world. Once again, Thatcher articulated the vision pithily, saying economics are the method, but the object is to change the soul. All forms of social solidarity, Harvey says, were to be dissolved in favor of individualism, private property, personal responsibility, and family values. Boston Rob is Margaret Thatcher's ideological godchild. This ideology has been systematically disseminated through our society's institutions like the media, schools, and churches, aided by think tanks funded by corporations starting in about the 1960s. Ever since the ideology was developed in 1947, this is a specific plan that you can look at the history of. It was developed in 1947 by the Mont Pelerin Society, which was founded by Austrian political philosopher Friedrich von Hayek and included Karl Popper as well as Milton Friedman. Neoliberal ideology embraces, unlike conservative ideology, what Lyotard calls the postmodern condition. It has, Harvey says, the power to split off libertarianism, identity politics, multiculturalism, and eventually narcissistic consumerism from the social forces ranged in pursuit of social justice in the conquest of state power. It has long proved extremely difficult within the U.S. left, for example, to forge the collective discipline required for political action to achieve social justice without offending the desire of political actors for individual freedom and for full recognition and expression of particular identities. In spite of its embrace of diversity, a neoliberal perspective, I really want to get through this, and I have a feeling he's about to really crack the whip. It's like I had to slow down reading, and I didn't have enough time to read it anyway. That's why I was reading it fast. I really want to get through it. In spite of its embrace of diversity, a neoliberal perspective is hostile to democratic processes, as threatening to individual rights, which are nevertheless ironically eroded in the process. So neoliberals, Harvey says, tend to favor governance by experts and elites, by executive order and by judicial decision, rather than democratic and parliamentary decision-making. Neoliberalism assumes, however, that individual freedoms are guaranteed by freedom of the market and of trade. Neoliberalism transfers all responsibility for well-being back to the individual. Personal failure is attributed to personal failings. The victim is blamed. Collective action becomes confined to non-democratic advocacy groups, non-governmental and grassroots organizations, NGOs. Neoconservatism, on the other hand, while equally invested in free market ideology and distaste for democracy, is distinguished by neoliberalism in its concern about order, personal morality, and religious values as the necessary social glue to keep the body politic secure in the face of external and internal dangers. The neoliberal vision embraces diversity, while the neoconservative vision does not.